How's it going, fight fans? Welcome to mindforcombat. If you're new to the channel, my name's Rohan, and in this video I'm going to be breaking down the upcoming boxing match between Jake Paul and Ben Askren. This is a really fun fight that I'm really looking forward to, man. I know a lot of the hardcores of boxing and MMA as well are deeply offended by this fight, but I don't mind stuff like this. I think it's fun. I come from an era of pride where the freak shows were a normal thing, where I watched Remy Bonyaski once fight Aki Bono for some reason, who was 0-4 at the time, but I guess he was 500 pounds and that was fun, right? So I don't mind a bit of fun. You just have to take it for what it is. This is a retired 36-year-old mixed martial artist who was predominantly a wrestler. Not even predominantly, he was basically a wrestler who is recovering from hip surgery versus a YouTuber who's, embarking on a boxing career, and he's looking to get a notable win. Now, to be fair to Jake Paul, most people in their boxing careers, earlier on in their careers, they don't tend to fight good competition. Most people don't go the Vasily Lomachenko route. Most people go the, what shall we say, the Deontay Wilder route, where early in their career they're just building up experience fighting cannon fodders. Now, Ben Askren is certainly not that, but what I'm talking about is his earlier fights when we're looking at guys like Nate Robinson or whoever the other YouTuber was. Yes, he's had some experience, he's got some knockouts, he hasn't fought a single person that makes me think that he's a legitimate boxer, but we're going to find out a lot more in this fight. And this is going to be a really fun one. I think it's going to be interesting to see what Ben Askren is able to do. He's a guy who throughout his mixed martial arts career is noted for saying that he's not going to train stand up because he doesn't feel like he needs to. He feels like he can just grapple people. But actually, it seems like for the last few months he has actually genuinely trained his boxing. He's gone out there, worked with Freddie Roach, gotten himself in shape, and he's taking this fight kind of seriously, probably because he doesn't want to have a loss to Jake Paul on his resume. But it should be interesting. Anyways, with that said, let's break this fight down. Jake Paul is 24 years old and in his physical prime. He actually is reaching his physical prime. He's a young man, very got a lot of athletic prowess, and he's got a long time ahead of him if he wants to continue competing. And he is 12 years younger than Ben Askren, who at 36 years old is a retired mixed martial artist, who by all accounts was pretty washed up by the time he was looking to hang it up, and has just recently had hip surgery. Considering in boxing you've got to turn your hip over and all the punches, it's going to be interesting to see how that impacts him. That is something that we should know. Jake Paul has a professional boxing record of 2 wins, no losses. He obviously had 1 amateur fight as well. None of those is against any level of boxer, not even guys that I would consider boxers for hobby or boxing enthusiasts, such as myself or someone like that. They were guys that were not boxers or fighters in any realm of reality, and they decided to put on gloves and make some money. They made money, but he's 2-0. He fights Ben Askren, who's making his boxing debut, but as a mixed martial artist, is 19-2 with 1 no contest. He's a former Bellator Grand Prix winner, Bellator champion. He's a former One Championship champion, and he's been around. He's fought in the UFC. He's fought some former world champions. He's got an incredible resume when it comes to mixed martial arts, and we're going to talk a bit more about that. But when it comes to fight experience, there is a vast difference between these both, and I think that's something that's going to pay a huge impact in this fight. Jake Paul stands at 5'11" tall, which makes him an inch taller than the 5'10" Ben Askren, and he has a 4-inch reach advantage over Ben Askren with a 76-inch reach. Ben Askren has a 72-inch reach, so it's going to be interesting how he's able to utilize that. I have no doubt he's going to want to keep Ben Askren at bay with his jab, and Ben Askren's going to want to come in close, rough him up in the clinch. But that size difference and that reach difference should be something that he really looks to employ. Jake Paul, of course, has beaten nobody, but when we're looking at Ben Askren, he has an incredible resume in mixed martial arts. He's got wins over the likes of JMIND, Andrei Koreshkov, Douglas Lima, even guys earlier in his career like Ryan Thomas who destroyed Jake Paul. Then we start looking at the wins he's got in the UFC. Robbie Lawler, he's of course beaten Shinya Aoki. He's a former Bellator and One Championship world champion. This is a very, very decorated fighter who has been around for a long time, and he's been in there with some killers who have, say we put Douglas Lima, who Ben Askren obviously beat on the ground, yeah, cool, but say we was to put those guys in there with Jake Paul might die. And that they are savage hitters that actually was connected, a few of them connected on Ben Askren with 4-ounce gloves on, particularly Robbie Lawler. So it's going to be interesting to see how that experience plays out in this fight. Now, Ben Askren may not be the best striker, but he's old and he may be older, but that's a wealth of experience that you just can't make up for. The biggest issue for Jake Paul is going to be his lack of experience in boxing and fighting. He's never fought a real fighter. The biggest issue for Ben Askren is going to be his poor striking. He's always had poor striking, below rudimentary in MMA, but he doesn't necessarily have to go out there to strike, but we'll talk a bit more about that. It ain't gonna make sense now, but I'll talk a bit more about it. The X factor for Jake Paul is that he's obviously young, athletic. He's trained nothing but boxing for the last 3-4 years, and he seems to be very serious about his boxing career and boxing transition. He wants to be a good boxer, so I think that's the X factor for him. The X factor for Ben Askren is going to be his wealth of experience in combat sports from childhood as a wrestler that Jake Paul hasn't really experienced yet. But anyways, with that said, let's go into this fight and let's get into my prediction. So when we're looking at this fight, there's a couple of things that come to mind. Firstly, is Jake Paul truly going to be able to stop Ben Askren early in the fight? Is he going to be able to land the punches, hurt Ben Askren? Well, when you look at Ben Askren's career, with the exception of Jorge Masvidal, who launched a missile at his chin, no one's ever really knocked out Ben Askren. He's actually had a pretty sturdy chin. And if you look at Robbie Lawler, held him down, swung wide punches from there and right flush on his chin. He didn't knock him out with those shots. And Robbie Lawler's a beast. Then you look at earlier in his career, the guys he's fought, like I mentioned, Douglas Lima, Koreshkov, these guys couldn't knock him out. So I don't think Jake Paul is going to knock out Ben Askren. Now, Ben Askren may be weathered and so old that he may turn up as a different fighter, but I don't anticipate that that's going to be the case, right? So then what you're asking is, can Jake Paul beat Ben Askren over an 8-round fight for 3 minutes, 8 rounds? What's that? You know, that's a long fight for him to be able to hold off Ben Askren from him for 24 minutes. Now, has he got the skill set to be able to do that? Well, the truth is, I don't know. I haven't seen nothing from Jake Paul that shows me he can do that. Who's he fought? He didn't look particularly great against Anson Gibb, who kept on squatting in the ring for some reason. He didn't look, yeah, he stopped Nate Robinson in what turned into a viral knockout, but he didn't look exceptional in that fight either. He was fighting a guy with literally zero experience of combat sports, who was a 36-year-old athlete, and he landed a few punches and knocked him out. Cool, that's great, but why should we believe that that's going to be something that shows us what you can do against a storied veteran fighter like Ben Askren? Right, so then what we're asking is, well, Ben Askren's got nothing in his hands. How's he going to be able to stop Jake Paul? Well, I don't think he does stop him. I don't think he outboxes him. I don't think he needs to outstrike him or outbox him. I was watching a clip where Ben Askren's training for a boxer. I forget who the boxer is. And the boxer goes, don't worry about boxing, just fight. And that is so true. All Ben Askren has to do is fight. Ben Askren knows what it's like to get hit and get punched. He knows what it's like to hold his guard up and get punched on his guard and, you know, bounce it off his hand. And I'm not going to say he's going to parry, but even if he just holds it and walks forward, I don't think Jake Paul's going to be able to hurt him. And when it gets in close, Jake Paul is going to struggle because Ben Askren will get in the clinch. I think Jake Paul's going to get ragdolled by Ben Askren. I think he's going to get thrown around, he's going to get bullied. Now, just so we're clear, I don't think that's going to happen in rounds 1 or 2 or even round 3. I think Jake Paul's going to come out there with tons of confidence that he's in there with a bad boxer. I think he's going to grow in confidence because he's probably going to win the early exchanges and Ben Askren's going to have nothing for him. He's going to throw punches like this. He's not going to be able to hurt him. He's not going to be turning his punches over. He's not going to be establishing the jab. I think Ben Askren's going to have a bad time in that regard. But I think as the time goes on and Ben Askren's not getting out of there, as Jake Paul gets more tired, as the rounds wear on and Ben Askren's still there closing the distance, still there in his face, still grabbing him in the clinch and landing little rabbit punches or landing little punches wherever he can, as the fight goes on and Jake Paul gets into a fight and he starts to tire, I think he's going to start to wilt. I think he's going to struggle under that pressure. I think Ben Askren will drown him. I don't think he's going to stop Jake Paul. If he does, it might be in round 7 or 8, but I think overall we're going to see Jake Paul completely exhausted by round 4, and I think we're going to see Ben Askren keep employing the same tactic, which is going to be hold his hands up, walk forward. I think he's going to push Jake Paul against the ropes, and I think he's going to land some punches against the ropes, and that's where Ben Askren is going to be able to do some damage. I don't think Ben Askren is going to outbox him, but I think Ben Askren is going to win the fight on against Jake Paul. That's my prediction. That's how I see it going. Now, obviously, I've done the videos on why either man wins, so maybe I haven't actually. But anyways, that's my take on how I see this fight going. I'll really be interested to see how you lot see this fight going. If you guys are new to my channel, remember to like, subscribe, and comment below. Let me know what you see. Even if you're not a regular, even if you are a regular viewer, just comment below. Help me out. Help the algorithm recognize my channel. Comment below. Like the video if you like it, and share this video out to fight fans. I'd be interested to know your your opinions on this fight, and I really cannot wait to see Ben Askren shut this guy up. Anyways guys, I'm Rohan and this is Mindful Combat. Thank you for watching.